problem 18. We have the point 37 and the slope 1/4, and we want to write the equation of the line passing through 37 with a slope of 1/4. So these problems we're using this very famous equation here, y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form, which we talked about last year. I don't expect anybody to remember that because that's second quarter. This is third quarter after break, but you need to come back and relearn this formula, very important in algebra. Y equals mx plus b. So we're going to use this to find the equation with what they give us here. All right? So m, we know. We can just substitute for m right away. I can say, okay, well, I know that y equals, the slope is going to be 1/4. That's what m is going to be, 1/4 x plus b. So the only thing that I need to find now is b. And the way that I'm going to find b is I'm going to take 3/7 and I'm going to plug that into this equation here. In other words, okay, so I know that when x is 3, y is 7. That's what that point tells me, right? So I substitute the 7 in for y, right? Because this is the y coordinate here. And then where I see an x, I'm going to substitute a 3, because when x is 3, y is 7. And now I'm just going to solve this for b. All right? We're going to get some fractions here, so this is not going to be very pleasant. But 3 times 1/4 is 3/4. All right? So we got 3/4 plus b equals 7. So what we have to do, unfortunately, is we have to subtract. We're going to do an inverse operation, right? We're going to subtract 3/4 from both sides, which means I get to do 7 minus 3/4, right? So these guys here, they undo each other. They cancel each other out. 7 minus 3/4. One of the ways that you can do fractions like this is just to change, 7 into an improper fraction that has a 4 on the bottom, right? So in other words, if that sounds confusing, 28 divided by 4 is 7, right? We want a common denominator. It's like I'm asking, what number divided by 4 will give me 7? Oh, it's 28. Okay, and so then I do 28 minus 3/4 here, and then I'm going to get 25/4. And that's what b equals. B is going to be equal to 25/4. And now I'm pretty much done. That means that the equation of the line is going to be y equals 1/4 x. Now remember, they told us that 1/4 at the very beginning. That's where we got the 1/4 from. Minus 25/4. And there you go. That's problem 18. So that's how you can find the equation of the line when you're given 1 point and the slope. So let me do one other problem. Here's 24. The only difference with 24 and the problems 19 through 26, which 24 is a part of, is they don't give you the slope to start with. What they do instead is they give you 2 points. And so here's the points you get for 24. You get -3 and 2. And then you get the points 10 and -6. So what we have to do for a problem like 24 is we have to find the slope first. And this is where you have to remember another formula, right? What's the formula for slope? Well, you take the two y's, and these subscripts always scare students when they see a y with a little 2. But that just means like I take the two y's and I subtract them. And then I take the two x's and I subtract them. That's all these little 2's and little 1's mean. Don't be afraid of them. So I just take the two y's Negative 6 minus 2. I'm going to find the slope here. Negative 6 minus 2. And then I'm going to do 10 minus negative 3. You have to be careful with that. 10 minus a negative 3. Pitfall right there, potential pitfall, because that's going to turn into a positive 3, right? So up on top, we've got minus 8. Negative 6 minus 2 is a minus 8. On the bottom, we've got 10 minus negative 3, which is going to be 13. So I can already tell this problem is probably not going to be fun. Because that is a really ugly, in my opinion, an ugly slope, right? Some people might think that all numbers are beautiful. That one doesn't look beautiful to me, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so now I've got the slope, y equals mx plus b, famous formula, right? I know what m is now because I just found it. All right, so I can just plug that straight in. Negative 8 over 13 x plus b. And now this problem is basically like the one I just did. It's like problem 18. Here's the deal though. I have 2 points I can pick, and it doesn't matter which one I pick. I can either use the first one to find b, or I can use the second one to find b, and it really doesn't matter which. And so I'm going to go ahead and go with negative 3 and 2 because they're smaller numbers, or at least, absolute value smaller numbers, right? And just plug them in and try to figure this out. Okay, so if I plug in 2 for y, remember what this means is that when y is 2, x is negative 3, or you could also say when x is negative 3, y is 2. So I can just substitute those in. I could have picked this, again. I could have picked this one. I don't like it, but I'm going to pick this one instead. So I plug in a 2 for the y, and I got negative 8 over 13 times a negative 3 plus b. All right. Well, negative 3 times negative 8 is 24, so what I got here is 24 over 13 plus b equals the number 2. And now I'm in the same sort of unpleasant situation that I was in last problem. I'm going to have to subtract, right? I mean, it's just one step to solve for b. You subtract 24 over 13 from both sides. But I got to get a common denominator. Now, hopefully you're getting used to this. Like, what's 13 times 2? 13 times 2 is 26, right? So 26 over 13 is 2. They're the same. And now I just subtract this 24 over 13 I got over here. And that is going to equal 2 over 13. So that's going to be what b equals. Again, I didn't really show my work really well here. I just said, okay, I'm going to subtract 24 over 13 from both sides. I just changed the 2, right, to 26 over 13. I guess I could just real quick, I mean, that would be like saying, okay, what's 2 over 1 times 13 over 13, right? I'm just trying to get a common denominator is all I'm doing, and that's 26 over 13. But once I find b, like I found it right there, again, the problem is pretty much done now because I already know the slope is negative 8 over 13. So it's going to be y equals negative 8 over 13x plus 2 over 13.